All right, we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of Ink Brothers. We're getting our tentacles all up on this game, and I hope you can feel them sliming around, slipping and sliding.
I am very uncomfortable right now.
You know, they kind of stick to things. They got those little suckers.
Are we gonna do an ASMR?
Feeling them up on your neck.
Is this an ASMR
It's like
episode?
crawling around. Yeah, have you ever had, Sam, you know, we've both been to Japan. Have you ever had, like, I guess this is maybe more of a Korean thing, but they serve, like, tentacles like that. They just chop right off of the squid, and it just, like, writhing around and sticking to the plate. And, like, and then you put it in your mouth and it kind of sticks to your cheek, and you have to kind of, like, suck it in because it's, like...
live? Like it's a living
the nerves are still active?
Oh, no, I have not. I have only ever, like... calamari maybe, but like takoyaki, but that's
all cooked.
Yeah.
You've never had, well, you've had like ika nigiri.
I've had
like the squid on rice.
Yeah.
Like the sushi, that's not cooked. That's raw.
I've only had that in the US though. And they like put like lemon over it to make it so the
citrus.
It also like it loosens up the muscles of the thing so it's not made of rubber.
I went to a restaurant once in Japan, in the middle of a lake. It was underwater. You had to cross a long bridge to get in the middle of the lake, and it was like this little pothole in the middle of the lake that was just like nothing else.
That sounds awesome.
You walk down the pothole, and there is an entire restaurant underwater.
You ever go to? I don't think it's too weird to admit that we live in Northern California. You ever been to Skates?
No.
It's a restaurant over in Oakland.
No, I haven't.
Where it's like on like an old pier, like it's just
really?
like right on the water.
I haven't been to Oakland very much. Anyway,
sorry,
this restaurant served only one thing. They only served live squid. Nothing else.
That's it.
You sit down, they bring you out a squid that's still moving and writhing and changing color on your plate. And it's big, it's like 1.5 feet long. You just cut it and you start taking pieces off of it, and you get to eat it while it watches you eat its bits. And
when you cut parts off of it, like, isn't that really visceral? Like, can't you, like, is it like blood coming out?
No, squids don't really bleed. I mean, it's just kind of gooey flesh. I mean, it's just like pieces of rubber, basically.
Oh, like that.
They have organs. You don't eat those. You just sort of eat the body. And you just like wave little pieces of its body in front of its eyes, and it's like, here's you.
There's you.
This is you.
That's really crazy to me.
And actually, it was delicious. It's very fresh. You know, it's not turning into the rubber texture quite yet. It's more of a. It's almost like an oyster texture, like a slimy slime. Quite good. Would recommend. I would go again if I had the chance. Would you? Would you join me on that adventure?
I'm willing to try anything once. Like I don't want to look down on something.
Yeah, I like that approach.
I can understand if people would be uncomfortable or upset.
Sure.
by seeing their meal in front of them, but that doesn't sound terribly different from like when you go to a Red Lobster and like they've got the lobsters in the tank right
Oh yeah, I mean, I honestly think it is better not only for health but also for like keeping in mind like where food comes from, to see the source of your food. I know a lot of people who like can't eat meat if they see like anything on it that looks like it came from a living creature, but they would eat meat anyway. And I'm like, if you really feel that bad about it, you shouldn't eat it.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember I heard somewhere recently that somebody had an idea of just like, what we should do is, if you want to eat chicken, you should have like a card that says you've killed one chicken.
Yeah.
Like you should kill whatever meat you're comfortable.
Sure. Like I was a vegetarian for 7 years, and part of it was that I didn't think I would be comfortable doing that. Nowadays, I think I'm more hardened.
Well, I mean, not to go too much into your personal life, but I think what really helped was you went to Japan.
I did,
and
yeah.
In Japan, you couldn't be picky. Like
that's true.
Like not even like you couldn't speak it, because clearly you demonstrated you could speak Japanese. But like
so this.
But you can. You didn't want to be rude, and you wanted to be open to the cultural exchange, I think.
So my advice to people who are traveling, who don't normally travel, is always to kind of leave those prejudices, not even just prejudices, but, you know, preconceived ideas about what you're comfortable with, like, at the door, because not only are you missing out, but you're also kind of, like, being a burden for people that you're with.
And that's not to say, I want to be clear, like, you have many allergies. And
Yeah, and that's part of it too, because I want to be as adventurous as possible, because there are things I cannot eat or they will kill me. So I feel like I have to compensate by eating anything. So I have, like, in Japan, like, different regions have crazy food. Like, what you have in the US as far as Japanese food is like the most basic, standard, anywhere in Japan you can find it kind of Japanese food.
Yeah.
Like, there are whole areas of Japanese cuisine that do not make it here for good reason, because people here would not like it.
So give me an example.
So,
what do you
traditional Japanese food is like 70% pickled vegetables.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
And
that. Like umeboshi?
Not even that, like pickled radishes, pickled carrots, pickled anything. It's all gross. I don't like any of it. The only exception is the pickled stuff they put on curry. And obviously pickles.
Yeah.
I like pickles. I don't like pickled food, but in Japan, bitter, sour foods are like kind of a delicacy. Whereas in the U.S., we have this association with them being kind of spoiled and rotten. And so people have that kind of issue with food in that way. And I understand that. Stuff more on a conceptual level is where I don't have issues anymore. Where, like, I don't get grossed out by the idea of something anymore. So an example is in Kyushu, which, my heart goes out to them. They had a couple of really bad earthquakes recently.
2 of them, right?
2 within a day of each other. My host family lives in Kyushu, and I apparently they're okay. But those earthquakes were as bad as the '89 earthquake in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about, because I don't think that there were that many victims. Luckily, it was in a not a very populated region. But anyway, Kyushu, at least the area that my host family lives in, one of the delicacies they have in that area is horse meat. Specifically, horse sashimi, so raw horse.
Wow.
And so when I went there for a New Year's party when I was studying in Japan, and that was what we had for like the big New Year's feast.
It's horse?
It was just slabs of raw, bloody horse.
Whoa.
And most people, I think, would be really grossed out by that idea.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm having a weird reaction, but like at the same time, that's not too different from cow.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't eat raw cow either.
No.
Especially not in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, in Japan, they have very high standards for, like, raw food. Much higher than our, like, FCC, or not FCC. That's,
the food
that's
people?
TV. FDA.
FDA.
Their standards for that are much higher. They're very careful about that. You will not get worms from it. Like, if you do, that's crazy outlandish in Japan. So, like, an example of that is people are more open to eating raw eggs in Japan because they don't get infected by salmonella like ours do, because they regulate it better and they have better systems for cleaning the eggs, whereas we just, like, basically sandblast eggs and they remove their like, membrane, which protect it from bacteria. Which is also why we have to refrigerate it. In most countries, you do not have to refrigerate eggs.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, think about it. An egg is just a thing that comes out of a chicken. Like,
I always thought that refrigerating it had something to do with, like, if it's not going to become a chicken, like, you have to refrigerate it or else, like...
it goes bad.
Not even it would go bad, like, it becomes more susceptible to becoming a chicken.
Well, people ate eggs before there were refrigerators, you know?
I guess that's true.
And it was because eggs have these, like, protective membranes on them. But like in America, we clean it off because it looks gross. It's like kind of a slimy residue.
Yeah.
And, like, if you've ever held, like, a duck egg, they're kind of, like, ugh. Like... they just seem like they have this gross, like, pus all over them. Whereas we don't like that, so we have to. And by sandblasting them, it creates all these cracks, and that's how, like, the fecal matter from the chicken gets inside, and bacteria gets in the egg, and that's where salmonella comes from.
Thanks, America.
So in other countries, depending on the country, obviously, you can kind of trust their systems a little bit better. So in Japan, if you're offered raw meat, you don't have. Ew, what is that?
That's the sandworm.
Ugh.
I found it. Prepare, sandworm.
I don't know if I'd eat that.
How do I activate my drive? My D drive.
You're asking the wrong person.
Neptune. Begin. Activate. Combat mode.
But anyway, I guess what I want to say is, if you're traveling, you will find often that the things that scare you the most will be the things that you remember the best, and leave you with the best impression. Like some of my favorite foods are like snails and squid ink. Fittingly, I like ink pasta a lot. Ink paella is great. You know, stuff like that. Like that's actually a lot of the best food is often what we're afraid of to eat the most, because in a lot of countries they kind of discovered these rare flavors in places that most humans wouldn't think to find them.
Yeah.
And there are things in Western culture that is totally weird for other cultures, like milk. Think how weird milk is. Think about the first person who discovered you could drink milk.
Yeah, I've thought about that. He must have been a weird fellow because. Yeah.
Like, most countries associate like milk with urine. You know, because it's just like it comes from a sack on an animal.
Yeah.
Like,
Ma, get out here. I found something from the cow's teeth that looks delicious.
it's white and pasty and pussy, and it's filled with fat. I'm gonna drink this.
Ugh. Well, you know, I mean, it was a good discovery.
Hey,
in the long
dairy.
term.
I cannot live without dairy. That is one thing I've learned living in Japan. Is cheese. Man,
Cheese is great.
cheese gotta have cheese. None of that fake plasticky cheese that they call cheese in Japan. You know? You know what I'm talking about?
Like movie theater cheese?
No, it's American cheese, and in Japan that is just cheese.
I like American cheese.
Cheese is okay in certain instances. It's good on grilled cheese sandwiches. Not a whole lot of other situations.
I mean, American cheese is just a bunch of cheese melted together, isn't it?
No, it's oil-based cheese, whereas most cheese is milk-based cheese. And it's the ones that come in the little plastic sheets that you have to unwrap. And they're kind of like, it's like they molded it in there, you know? You know what I'm talking about? Mm. Whereas most cheese comes from like a wheel. It's like actually it's also kind of gross. It's like a reaction to mold. Like blue cheese is just mold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like curdled milk, basically.
Right, that's what gives it that weird zing.
Yeah, and the texture and hardness. But American cheese is just like processed cheese. Like it's just oil and chemicals and cheese flavored and yellow coloring. And in Japan, that's basically all they have.
Is it actually dairy?
It has some dairy in it. I know that like I think Kraft singles are primarily milk. Like they tried to make it a little bit more healthy, but it's still got that weird oily texture. And it burns when you toast it, you know?
Yeah.
It bubbles.
Yeah, cheese ain't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting this sandworm here. Not to go off topic, but I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
Well, you're getting the I mean, how do you turn into the comp?
So I looked at the tutorial and it just said there's a transform button, and that transform button is
It'll just show up if you do things right, maybe.
So like, look, it said here we go, HDD.
It
right?
might totally be random.
Use an attack skill with a finish bonus attached.
Oh, we need to make her maybe we need to make her a moveset.
Oh, we have to do that ourselves.
Or one of the preset ones. I don't know if we've been using them.
I've been using them.
Oh, it didn't say transform.
Can we go into her combo list?
This is exciting for everybody. Quad chain. Try that. That might be the only one that's available.
Okay. Can we
try the quad chain? Your weapon combo.
We're gonna.
Oh, you know what? It also might have been. You can add the disc. The RW disc, is that it? Or hard drive Definity? No, hard drive Definity was the move, right?
Yeah.
So maybe change it to that. That way, triangle, circle is like, what are you gonna call it?
Nasty cheese.
And from now on, everyone will remember this episode, because throughout this whole game, you're gonna be seeing this coming up a whole lot. At least the battle music got more exciting.
Yeah, this is a little better.
Yeah.
Did I do that right? Yeah, hard drive Divinity. Okay. So now I can. 1, 2, 3, boom! Nasty cheese.
There we go. Did you see the transform? Little transform went by and it was there for like a second.
Did I miss it?
Yeah, I think you missed it.
This is.
Oh, you're out. Out of AP.
So yeah, that's good. We were talking about how gross American cheese is.
We weren't paying attention. Sorry, everybody. We apologize. I know you hate topics. I actually like the topic episodes. It's not bad.
Yeah, we could do this. We could do this more often.
It's true. It's almost like a podcast.
That's what I
If we had a podcast, what would it be called?
It'd be called Ink Brothers.
I think it'd be called the Cephala Podcast.
You thought about that before. That's not fair.
It's too long. It's not a good name. It's smart, but it's not good.
What is EX Netball? Oh, I can learn. Oh, I learned all of them already. I'll do my best.
My level went up.
Cool.
Fantasy Zone. That's actually
It's
just a
real
game.
Yeah.
It's the APA. The little.
I wonder
Popo.
if we do Fantasy Zone.
I
he'll show up.
think he shows up.
That's kind of cool.
Well, anyway, it's been a full episode.
Yeah, I lost track of time. We've been. No, we're okay.
No, I've been. There's a little timer on here too, so I can. Yeah, we're trying to keep these to 15 minutes. You know, we
beat
might.
the sandworm.
We did. We actually did something.
Yeah, we're making progress.
By the way, if you notice that there have not been any trophies popping, it's because I've already made it this far, like years ago, and we're coming close to where I fell asleep and gave up. So we're doing just as good as I did long ago, when I was a young boy.
Well, I can't wait till the first trophy pops and we get to the point where it's new uncharted territory.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited. I mean, this game has so many secrets and crevices and
Crevasses?
I crave that ass.